All right, welcome to another edition of Environmental Science. We will be finishing chapter 14 today with 14.4. Again, last time we talked about urbanization of cities and all that, and today we're going to be talking about how cities can become more sustainable. Okay, so again, what we're seeing is that urban areas are increasing. And so what we see is that widely dispersed urban areas can create larger ecological footprints because the population depends on more motor vehicles for transportation. So again, this idea with the growing communities that people may drive 15, 20, even 40 minutes to work and not live in the cities. So again, there's the idea that because you have to drive to work because of all this transportation, it does increase the ecological footprint that a person may have. Okay. Many people live or do live in compact cities. So again, we talk about Hong Kong, Tokyo, New York City, right? And so what we see is that they don't need those vehicles because all they do is just move around in the cities by walking, biking, or even just using mass transit. So again, this is the idea that again they're using or they're having less of an ecological footprint by not using a car. Okay, but what we see is that some people do live in these dispersed cities. So again, this does depend on cars for transportation, and again, because of having these cars come in, uh, there's going to be a lot of environmental effects of that. Not only is gas or cars going to release CO2 to the atmosphere, but what we also see too is that the different parking lots needed to be created, the space needed to park all those cars are again going to have a good effect on the cities and the environment that the cities are located in. And the big thing is that um, growing upward, you do see that with different larger cities, as with New York City and all that, with all the skyscrapers, all the taller buildings. Or you could go to suburbs, bigger cities, and what we see is that they'll be growing out. So again, with those outward cities, again, you're destroying more habitat, growing upward. Again, it's not that you're destroying more, but you are causing more people to live in a tinier space. So again, when we talk about density-dependent limiting factors, this does have a factor with these cities. So there are advantages and disadvantages of cars. So obviously, cars are comfortable and convenient. And much of the world's economy is tied to the production maintenance of cars and roads. So again, for economies and all that, they're very good for them. But again, the disadvantages that we can see is obviously people could get in car accidents. Again, every year a lot of people do die because of car or automobile related accidents. They do have auto exhaust. So again, we do see that cars do contribute to pollution. And also, what we see is that there is a lot of congestion, a lot of traffic jams with a lot of cars being in a tinier space. So, could phase in full cost pricing, charging a tax on gasoline that could this be a good thing, discouraging car use? I think there are positives, but there are, again, negatives to a lot of these things. What we see is that if we did charge a tax or we charge more for gasoline, ideally, this could offset harmful effects of driving. This could fund programs to educate people, finance mass transit, bike lanes, and sidewalks. This could be a good thing, but in all reality, what we saw with 2008, even Obama's time with raising gas prices, it's not that less people drove. What we saw is that they had less money to spend things on other things, on other, uh, I guess, luxuries, right? So what you saw was that with people having to pay for more gas, they needed those cars to get to work. They couldn't relocate to their job. They couldn't do that. So because of that, instead of having extra money to buy shoes or to go to the restaurants or do anything with more disposable income, they didn't have that option because they needed to pay for um, their gas. All right. You could also raise the parking fees in cities, so this would encourage people to carpool, possibly. You could increase charge tolls on roads, tunnels, and bridges. And again, the idea that by doing this, you're giving more money to the states to do something with it. So again, fund these different programs, finance all these different things. But again, you kind of need good alternates. I would say the biggest thing, this is an argument that could be made, is making sure that as innovators, we can make more efficient cars. All right, they're able to produce less CO2. Okay, they're more cleaner. They're able to burn easier. There's also the fact that there could be electric cars. With electric cars, this can eliminate the use of gasoline. But again, the problem with that also is that you need to get your energy from somewhere. We haven't, as a world, been able to fully produce clean energy. We do use coal, we do use natural gas and all that. And again, these is just a different option, but you have to understand where that's coming from. So again, the use of electric cars in the future, I think, is a good idea. But again, where do we get our energy from? Again, you're going to think about coal. You're going to think about natural gas. A lot of these things, where we get our power from. So again, these are choices. This can discourage car use, but again, the idea is that a lot of people depend on it, right? This isn't an option for a lot of people. A lot of people need cars to get to their jobs based on where they work. And you got to realize too, living in the city costs a lot of money. And so that's why you'll see a lot of people located outside of cities so that they could drive in. If you think about the cost of living in New York City, it's insane, right? If you really wanted to get or encourage people to live in the city, well, then make it cheaper to live there. Or, with that funding you would get from bumping up gasoline or from doing tolls on the roads, make it cheaper to live in your area. So again, there's options, but there needs to be good alternative, because if we're on the path that we're on now, again, it's not going to be healthy for the environment. So for sustainable cities, we should make available alternate modes of transportation, walking, biking, mass transit. If you do live in those cities, we can provide ways to recycle and reuse waste. And again, this is more of a management problem than anything, making sure that people are knowledgeable enough to recycle, to reuse waste. And again, understanding which products we can reuse and which products we can't. Okay. Provide ways for people to grow much of their own food, so urban gardens. So again, it's the idea that with healthier diets, we're not trying to go for fast food and all that. And the thing is that it takes up a lot of energy, a lot of resources to have a more meaty diet. So again, if we have more of a plant-based diet, this will help with the idea of preserving some of that resource for other things. Okay, so again, urban gardens could be a good idea if you, again, are good at growing things or have the discipline to grow things. And then also to protect biodiversity. Again, make sure that whatever action that we have, we do a good job of knowing the reactions from our actions. Again, we want to make sure that biodiversity is high so that we do not cause any type of mass extinction. Eco-cities, cities for people, not cars. So again, retrofit existing cities by developing low-polluting mass transit, meeting high energy efficiency standards for electricity and appliances. So again, with different innovations that we see, make it so that it's energy efficient, make sure that we're using less energy for the same thing, all right? Making use of renewable energy resources. Again, we have the idea of solar panels. We have the idea of windmills that do offer different energy resources. But again, if we continue with our research on that, again, we can do a greater job of kind of phasing out gas and coal and all that. Planting trees and plants throughout the city. Again, you're causing more green to be in the city. Okay, you're going to be more plants, more environmentally friendly, reducing air and noise pollution as well as soil erosion. Again, that's the idea with planting more trees and plants. Again, that'll help with not only the air pollution, but as well as soil erosion, and make sure that with noise, we can keep that to a minimum. And then efficient use of ecological land use planning. Again, let's be smart about how we're using land, make sure that whatever we do doesn't hurt the environment too much. All right, so the role of eco-cities. What we see is that eco-cities can clean up industrial sites and preserve nearby forests, and they are they could source food locally from nearby farms, solar greenhouses, and rooftop gardens. So again, you're being more efficient. You're not relying on other people in other areas. And so what we see is that in some cities such as Portland, Oregon, Bogota, Colombia, uh, Helsinki, Finland, and Melbourne, Australia, that's where we see some of these eco cities and how they are able to, again, be smart about how they are planning things, making sure that they can grow things without needing to ship it from far away. And then smart growth can promote environmental sustainability. So, with the smart growth, policies and tools that encourage more environmentally sustainable urban development include zoning, laws, and other regulations to direct growth and reduce ecological footprints, and keeping with scientific and social factors of sustainability. And again, with that smart growth, we can achieve all of that. So, that is the end of chapter 14. Please watch this again. Make sure your notes are completed as we finish up the chapter.